and as we talked, I found myself enjoying her company more than I had expected. "So, are you seeing anyone?" Rachel asked casually as she sipped her coffee. "Yeah," I replied, smiling. "I'm with someone. Her name's Emma, and things are going really well." Rachel raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk on her face. "Well, that's great. I'm happy for you. You always deserved someone special." I thanked her, but something about the way she said it made me feel a little uneasy. It was as if there was an underlying tension in her words, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Still, I shrugged it off. We were just friends, right? After that coffee, Rachel and I started texting occasionally, mostly just casual conversations about work or life. But there was an energy between us that I couldn't ignore. It wasn't romantic, not exactly, but there was definitely a spark, and I knew I needed to be careful. One night, as Emma and I were cooking dinner together, she asked, "So, how was catching up with Rachel?" I hadn't told Emma much about Rachel yet, mostly because I didn't want to worry her unnecessarily, but I knew now was the time to be upfront. "It was nice," I said. "We talked about old times and what we've been up to. She's back in the city now, so we might hang out occasionally." Emma paused, stirring the pasta on the stove. "Rachel, that's the girl you were really close with in high school, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, but it's nothing like that. We're just friends." Emma looked at me, her expression calm but thoughtful. "I trust you, Alex. I do. But you know how these things go. Just be careful, okay?" "I will," I promised. "There's nothing to worry about." But deep down, I knew I had to keep an eye on my own feelings. Rachel wasn't just some random person from my past. She had been important to me once, and those old feelings, however faint, were still there. I couldn't let them interfere with what I had with Emma. As time went on, my interactions with Rachel remained friendly, but there was always that underlying tension, that unspoken connection that hung in the air whenever we talked. I found myself thinking about her more than I should, and I knew I needed to create some distance. Then one day, out of the blue, Rachel called me. Her voice was shaky, and I could tell something was wrong. "Alex, I need to talk to you," she said, her usual confidence gone. "Can we meet up?" I hesitated, knowing that meeting up with her might not be the best idea, but I also couldn't turn her down when she was clearly upset. "Okay," I agreed. "Let's meet at the park." When I arrived, Rachel was sitting on a bench, looking uncharacteristically vulnerable. As I sat down beside her, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. "I don't know how to say this, Alex, but I've been struggling ever since we reconnected. Seeing you again brought back a lot of feelings I thought I'd buried." My heart sank. I hadn't expected this, but I knew what she meant. There had always been something between us, even back in high school, but we had never acted on it. "I'm with Emma," I said softly, trying to make things clear. "I know," Rachel whispered, "and I don't want to come between you two, but I had to tell you how I feel." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. This was exactly what I had been afraid of. The last thing I wanted was to hurt Emma again, or to lead Rachel on. "I care about you, Rachel," I said, choosing my words carefully. "But Emma is the person I want to be with. I can't let anything get in the way of that." Rachel nodded, wiping away a tear. "I understand. I just needed to get it off my chest." We sat there for a while, the silence between us heavy with unspoken words. Eventually, Rachel stood up, gave me a small smile, and walked away. When I got home that night, Emma could tell something was on my mind. "Is everything okay?" she asked gently. I looked at her, knowing that I had to be honest. Rachel told me she still has feelings for me. Emma's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't seem surprised. "And what did you say?" "I told her I'm with you, and that's not going to change." Emma smiled, relief washing over her face. "Thank you for being honest, Alex. I know this isn't easy, but I trust you." In that moment, I realized how much I had grown, how much Emma and I had grown together. Yes, there were always going to be new people, new challenges, but as long as we kept communicating, kept choosing each other, we could face anything. And so, life moved forward once again. Rachel and I drifted apart, and Emma and I continued to build our life together, stronger than ever. Life, as it tends to, continued to evolve. Emma and I had weathered the storms of old feelings, new faces, and unexpected twists. We had built something stronger than before, but there were still moments when I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. Rachel, Mia, and Jake, they had all been part of our journey, but Emma and I had come out on top. We chose each other every day, and that choice made all the difference. One day, as Emma and I were relaxing at home after a long week, she looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Alex," she began, "we've been through a lot together. I feel like we've really grown, both as individuals and as a couple. But there's one more thing I think we should talk about." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What's on your mind?" Emma hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Marriage. I mean, we've been together for a while now. Don't you think it's time we talked about what comes next?" The word marriage hung in the air between us, and I felt my heart skip a beat. It wasn't that I hadn't thought about it. I had. But hearing Emma bring it up made it feel so real, like the next chapter in our story was waiting to be written. I took a deep breath, reaching out to take her hand. "I've thought about it too, Emma. I want to be with you. Forever. But I guess I was waiting for the right time to bring it up." Emma grinned, her eyes sparkling. "Well, I'm bringing it up now. What do you think? Are we ready?" I looked into her eyes, feeling a wave of love and gratitude for everything we had been through. "Yeah, Emma, I think we are." And just like that, the conversation shifted from a hypothetical future to a real one. We started talking about what kind of wedding we'd want, where we'd want to live, what our dreams for the future looked like. It was exciting, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of certainty about where we were headed. But, as life often does, it threw one more curveball our way. A few weeks after our marriage conversation, I got a call from an old friend of mine, Mark. We hadn't been in touch for years, but he had heard through mutual friends that I was doing well, and he wanted to reconnect. Mark was the kind of guy who brought energy wherever he went. He had always been the life of the party, and back in the day, we had been inseparable. We decided to meet up for drinks one evening, and when I walked into the bar, there he was, grinning from ear to ear like no time had passed at all. "Alex! Man, it's been too long." Mark pulled me into a bear hug, and immediately I felt like I had stepped back into our old days of hanging out. We spent the evening catching up, laughing about old memories and talking about where life had taken us. Mark had been through his share of ups and downs, but he was still the same outgoing, spontaneous guy I remembered. Toward the end of the night, after a few beers, Mark leaned in and said, "So, what's new with you, man? You seeing anyone?" I smiled, feeling a warm glow at the thought of Emma. "Yeah, actually. Her name's Emma, and things are pretty serious. We've been talking about getting married." Mark's eyes lit up. "No way!" "That's awesome, man. But you're sure about this? I mean, marriage is a big deal." I nodded. "I'm sure. Emma's amazing. We've been through a lot together, and I know she's the one." Mark raised his glass. "Well, cheers to that. But hey, before you settle down for good, we've got to have one last adventure. Just like old times." I laughed, not taking him too seriously. "What do you have in mind?" Mark's grin widened. "A road trip. You, me, a couple of old friends, one last crazy weekend before you're officially off the market." I hesitated. The idea of a road trip sounded fun, especially with Mark, but I also knew that my life was different now. I wasn't the same carefree guy I had been back when Mark and I were inseparable. Still, the thought of one last adventure before diving into the next phase of my life was tempting. "I'll think about it," I said, not wanting to commit right away. When I got home that night, I told Emma about Mark's idea. She smiled, but there was a hint of caution in her eyes. "Sounds like fun," she said. "But just remember, Alex, we've been through a lot. Don't let anything come between us now." Her words stuck with me. She wasn't trying to stop me from having fun or spending time with old friends, but I knew she was right. I needed to be mindful of the choices I made, especially now that we were on the verge of starting a new chapter together. Over the next few days,